Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever checked your bank account and felt that sudden sinking knot in your stomach, or if you've been lying awake at 2 in the morning thinking, man, I am falling way behind, I just want to say something right off the bat. I feel you. We completely empathize with you. In today's economy, where the cost of living seems to skyrocket every single day and things like homeownership can feel like a totally distant dream, it is incredibly easy to feel overwhelmed and scared about your money. That stress is very real. But what if the way out of that stress doesn't actually require a massive IQ or some fancy Wall Street degree?
Okay, let's dive into this. When we look at folks who are really struggling financially, society kind of makes this harsh and, honestly, incorrect assumption. We assume that if someone is broke or buried in debt, well, it must be because they just lack intelligence, right? We think there's this secret financial formula or some exclusive private club for rich people, and if you just went to the right school, you'd have the whole shebang figured out. But is that actually the true cause of financial stress?
The reality is much simpler and honestly a lot more empowering. The number one thing keeping people broke is ignorance and behavior, not a lack of intelligence. Literally, you could have a brilliant Harvard-trained doctor who is completely bankrupt and a janitor who barely finished high school sitting on millions. Why? Because doing well with money is about 99% behavioral psychology. It's all about how you think, how you behave, and how you keep your expectations in check. If you have a grasp on basic arithmetic and can master your own impulses, you already have the absolute most important tools.
Section 1, the expectation gap and why you feel like you are falling behind. We live in an era where algorithms are constantly feeding us highlight reels of people who look wealthier and more successful than us. So we really need to look at the very definition of happiness here. At least when it comes to our finances, happiness is quite literally just the gap between expectations and reality. Think about it. If you get a raise at work, but your expectations for the kind of car you should drive or the apartment you should rent spiral out of control even faster because of what you see online, you are essentially trying to fill a psychological hole with a financial shovel, and you will still feel broke.
And this brings us to an amazing anecdote that hits the nail on the head. This is a quote from the brilliant scientist Stephen Hawking. Now, despite battling a devastating disease that left him entirely paralyzed, he was known to be an incredibly happy and grateful guy. When someone asked what his secret was, he said his expectations were reduced to 0 when he was 21, and everything since then had been a bonus. Wow. If we can apply even a fraction of that mindset to our financial lives, purposefully lowering our material expectations and practicing gratitude for what we already have, we can instantly close that gap and find real contentment.
Moving on to Section 2, Tool versus Yardstick, the illusion of status and spending.
Whenever you swipe your credit card or hand over some cash, it is absolutely crucial to recognize the true motivation behind that purchase. Because every single dollar you spend basically falls into one of two buckets. On side A, we have money as a tool. This is utility. It's spending that actually fosters a better life for you and your family, like buying groceries, putting a roof over your head, or funding a meaningful experience. But then on side B, we have money as a yardstick. This is pure status. It's spending designed to measure yourself against others and keep up appearances. And the danger is, when you use money as a yardstick, you step onto this never-ending treadmill of envy. There will literally always be someone with a slightly bigger house or a newer car.
So why do we buy those status symbols in the first place? Well, there's a fascinating bit of psychology here. A financial expert who used to work as a valet at a 5-star hotel in LA shared this great story. Whenever someone pulled up in a roaring Ferrari, he would stare at the car in total awe. But he realized he never once looked at the driver and thought, wow, that guy's so cool. Actually, scratch that. He wasn't thinking about the driver at all. He was just imagining himself in the driver's seat, assuming everyone would think he was cool. It's a massive wake-up call. Nobody is thinking about you as much as you are. They are way too busy thinking about themselves. Strangers aren't impressed by you. They're just imagining themselves owning your stuff.
Section 3, rich versus wealthy. Let's redefine financial success. To unlearn the myths that society feeds us every single day, we have to look at the massive, life-altering difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich is loud, it's highly visible, it's high current income, flashy sports cars, huge houses. But it often comes with crushing debt, meaning that person is completely beholden to their job and to the bank just to maintain the illusion. Take the Vanderbilt heirs from the early 1900s, born into unimaginable riches, yet historical records show virtually all of them were miserable and entirely controlled by societal expectations. On the other hand, wealthy is largely invisible. It's the unspent savings. It's those boring index funds. True wealth is absolute independence and free time. Think of a grandmother who lives on a very modest income but completely owns her time and answers to no one. That is true wealth. Section 4. Purchasing your independence. Taking back your future. Here's the deal. Every dollar of debt you take on for, say, a fancy dinner is a piece of your future time that you've just sold to a bank. But the reverse is a total paradigm shift. Most people kind of hate saving because they view it as this painful, delayed gratification. Like, why save $50 today when I could go spend it and have fun right now? But you aren't just locking that money away in a dark vault. When you put that $50 into savings, you're actively purchasing independence today. You're literally buying yourself a better night's sleep tonight. You're buying the freedom to weather a storm if your car breaks down, or if you lose your job.
So the crucial point is taking action with some basic foolproof steps. Step 1, check your bank balance every single day. Seriously, it takes 10 seconds, but it utterly destroys the financial ignorance that keeps people broke by forcing you to face exactly what comes in and what goes out. Step 2, save 10% of all income, no matter what. If you make $50 in tips, save $5. Do not tell yourself it's too small an amount to matter. Step 3, automate it. We are flawed emotional creatures, right? Set up an automatic transfer from your checking to your savings every payday, so you don't even have to think about it.
Section 5. The power of patience. The totally unglamorous secret to investing.
Once you have that saving muscle built, you look towards investing. And I know, the stock market can sound super intimidating, but the reality of successful investing relies on this mind-blowing statistic. Look at this number, 99%. Warren Buffett is widely considered the greatest investor of all time, worth over $100 billion. But get this, 99% of his net worth was accumulated after his 60th birthday. No way, right? It wasn't because he had magic formulas. It's because he let compound interest do its job for an extraordinarily long time. If you can just be an average investor who puts money into boring, broad index funds for an above-average amount of time, you can achieve incredible wealth. You don't need a high IQ, you just need relentless patience.
But to maintain that patience, you have to understand how to handle inevitable market crashes. When the stock market drops, people panic. They think they've done something wrong and they are being punished. But market volatility is just a fee, not a fine. Think of it as the normal cost of admission you pay to an amusement park to ride the roller coasters. The emotional stress of the market going up and down is just the price you pay for those massive long-term compound gains. It's not a punishment, it's literally just the ticket price.
Well, we have covered a lot of ground in this explainer today. From managing that dangerous expectation gap to realizing that the real flex isn't a shiny new car, but the freedom to wake up and do whatever you want. True wealth is completely in your control because it's rooted in your behavior, not some secret formula. So I'll leave you with this one final, provocative thought to take with you. Would you rather spend your life looking rich to strangers at a stoplight? Or would you rather use your money to become truly, fundamentally free?